Is it your family? Is it people like colleagues? Is it strangers online? Like, who are you like, oh my gosh, I want to invite this person, but I just have no idea how to even approach that. That's what I want you to write in the chat. People you know. That's a really big one. So hopefully we can go over that a little bit tonight, and you guys will be able to innovate your invites a little bit. So what I was saying while I was on mute is just, if you guys have questions about the invitation, what I've found most coaches struggle with is the language, like trying to find the right words to say. They're willing to invite, they want to invite, they're eager to invite, they love the products, everything is there. They just don't know how to word stuff. And I will tell you that, especially when it comes to leadership, like the more you get into your business, you start to understand that there's different languages that we don't know yet. And one of those is a sales language, which is basically what the invitation is, right? Like we're trying to sell our group. We're trying to sell this concept of what coaching and what Beachbody really is. We're trying to communicate like our message, right? And sell that to people. So the sales language is one. Another one is the leadership language. And that was a very hard one for me to learn. There's definitely language that's used with leaders, right? They're very careful about the words that they use. And if you start to pay attention, if I could give you guys any advice, when you hop on these power hours, pay attention to the way these top coaches phrase things. Pay attention to how they word things. Pay attention to the connotation behind them, meaning, is it like, are they positive? Are they negative? Are they neutral? Are they empowered? Like, pay attention to the energy that they put into it as well. But if you start to kind of pay attention to the language, it helps you learn it. So even when you see, you know, coaches you admire or people who are doing really well right now with inviting, like pay attention to how they're structuring their invites. Pay attention to the words that they're using, because it does make a difference. And sometimes, you guys, one of the coolest things for me is when I can assess someone's invite and be like, this is how I do it. This is what I say. And we can change one word and it changes everything, their entire approach. And then it starts working, right? After all this time that it didn't work, and it was just a one word switch. So I don't want that to like freak you out or put too much pressure on you. What I wanted to do is just help you guys understand, like, sometimes it's not you, sometimes it's not your approach even, sometimes it's just the wording that needs a little bit of rearranging. Okay, so if stuff like that pops up during the power hour, let me know. I'm gonna share my screen so you guys can see the little tracker we're gonna work through. And then if you guys have questions, definitely post them. I like to be chat heavy these days because I feel like it's like your one and only chance to really talk to other leaders in the network that's not your upline. And it's so impactful, I think, to be able to get that different perspective. So don't ever be afraid to ask questions. Okay, so here's what we're gonna go through tonight. Can everyone see this? I'll post it at the end of the call for those of you that want it. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go through how to invite each of these different kinds of people: friends, family, neighbors, inactive challengers, inactive coaches, how to create a Facebook post, right? How to create a Facebook invite, how to create an Instagram invite, how to create a challenge group invite, meaning in your own challenge groups that you have going, how to do like a live invite on a chat or a video or whatever, and then how to get referrals. Okay, so hopefully as we go through this, if you have success in one of these areas, you can share tips as well. Like, don't just think you don't know anything, because a lot of the times you learn from each other so much. So if you're like, I'm really strong in this area, here's what I do, it's working, definitely put that in the chat. Okay, so here's the 4 things I really think you have to have in place all the time as a coach in order to seamlessly be able to invite every single day without any hangups whatsoever. Okay, number 1, do you have an active challenge group or a bod group set up that's like running all the time? That's number one. It's shocking how many people don't have that. Second, this month's challenge, what is your current challenge group right now? Like, what are you inviting people to right now? Just kind of jot it down so that you know on top of your mind, like exactly what you're inviting to. Megan said, can you describe a challenge group? Okay, so challenge groups, they really can be called anything. I'm just going to say this real quick. Is just the area in which you designate to coach people. That's it. It's just your location where you're going to coach people. Let's see. Okay. Job one, March boot camp, sample workouts, gut protocol, ongoing group, and new group starting. I think next week we'll do a challenge group invite or power hour. I think that actually would be really cool because there's so many different types of challenge groups that you can run. And I think sometimes when you don't know how to lay that out or format it in your mind, sometimes it can cause issues and it holds you back from inviting to it because you're not sure if it's going to work or you're not sure if it's okay to coach people that way or whatever. So that would be cool. Okay, so it sounds like you guys have your challenge group, your theme for this month. Do you have a start date for your next challenge group? Do you have a start date that you're using right now for leverage to get people in the door? Yes or no? Always have a date in mind. So if your challenges start on the 1st of every month, you get everybody in, it starts on the 1st. As soon as that date passes, you set another date. Round two, my round two people, my mid-March people, the 15th, that's your start date. Our first people already started. Now we're going to start this next group on the 15th. Like always have something that people can latch onto. It helps people wrap their brain around a deadline, which is important when it comes to this kind of stuff, because a lot of the times they don't hit their goals because they don't set any dates, right? It's just sort of open-ended, but part of your job is accountability, right? And so when you bring in a date, when you bring in those deadlines to the goals, that's what helps with that accountability piece. Okay. And then the very last thing is, do you have leverage? What's your current leverage right now? And what that means, and this is really important, is either with your people that you've been talking to for a long time, like say you talked to somebody in January and they never signed up, your leverage with that person is time, right? So if you're like, I don't have any leverage, your leverage is always time. Time is something you can never get back, ever, right? So if you don't have leverage, meaning there's 2 days left to our challenge group start date, there's 1 day left, there's 24 hours left, right? Like time is always something that you can use to kind of bring some urgency into your invite, which again, creates accountability and helps people latch on and make decisions to move forward, okay? So those are the 4 things that I say as a successful coach, you should always have in place. Okay. So we're going to go down this list. We're going to practice inviting and actually send invites to all of these 10 categories. Are you guys ready? Some of you look really scared and some of you look like you're like, okay, let's go. Okay. So number 1, our friends. Your friends invite. Okay. I give you a little formula for each invitation. Okay. I'm going to just make this a little bit bigger and move it so that it's okay. So here's the formula. The formula that I personally use for friends, it's always a one-on-one invite. It's less formal and I get really creative with the accountability. Okay. So when it comes to my friends, I don't necessarily put them in challenge groups. I don't necessarily feel like I have to even put them in my bod group. I'll be like, hey, let's talk every day on Marco Polo. Hey, let's create a text thread. Hey, let's meet once a week for lunch and go over what we did for the week. It's different. I coach them differently because they're actively in my life, right? And I want to make sure that they don't get lost in the system. So number 1, your friends' invitations can look however they need to look based on the relationship you have with that person. I personally have found the one-on-one invitation is much more effective than putting a ton of people on a group text or a group email or a group video, whatever. Okay, so I want you to think of one person that you could invite to your current challenge that's your friend right now, that you could do this challenge with on the side? Hey, I'm doing this challenge with my business this month. Here's what we're doing. Here's whatever. Would you want to do this with me on the side? Have any of you guys ever asked that question? If they'll be like, what does that mean? You'll be like, we'll just text each other, but I want to see like if I can really get results from this or not. Super easy, super informal, right? But it's still an invitation and it's still an open door. And that's the most important thing. So I'm going to give you a few minutes. I want you to think this through. I want you to craft an invite to one of your friends that you can text them or message them or email them, or even think about like, I'm going to call them really quick, whatever. And I want you to craft how you could invite them to your current group or your next one that's starting. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple minutes. Sue, she said, I'm just going to answer this while you guys are working. She said, I was told we can't do a challenge unless they are paid clients. Does anyone have any feedback on that? For me personally, I have never really coached people that way. I think people can run their groups however they want. I think I've always encouraged you not to run free groups for too long, because then you end up working for free forever. So it just kind of depends on what that means by paid clients. I always do a good mixture of both, especially in the beginning. Now my business, I mean, I've been coaching for almost 12 years, so I don't really do that anymore. I don't really run free groups. But I have a lot of people that are free customers. So I guess I don't really, Susan said, we allow free customers in our community, encourages them to become paid. Correct. Like bod customer, no shake subscription. So this is one of those things, you guys, that you as the CEO of your own business get to decide. This isn't something that somebody else gets to choose for you, right? I mean, you have to remember your sponsor is always going to encourage you to do things that are going to propel your business forward. They're going to encourage you to do the things that are going to pay you back. They're going to encourage you to do the things that help you in the compensation plan with getting people results. They're always going to navigate you in that direction. If something for some reason feels different one month and you're like, I just want to run a free 7-day group on this topic, do it. Right? Anytime you can get an email from somebody, you can bring them into your community. Like, it's just one step closer to them becoming an actual challenger. And instead of looking at it as like a paid customer, I always look at it as someone who's invested in themselves. It's somebody who's now invested, period. Whether that's in the business or whatever, it's an investment in themselves. And so that's kind of how I goal for people in general. See, again, with the language, see how the language is different? It's not a paid customer, it's an invested customer. So similar, but it comes off very differently, right? Okay. I'm going to be quiet for one more minute so you can finish your friend invite. Okay, if you send an actual invite to one of your friends, then post done in the chat. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Does anyone have any questions about inviting friends? Does it help to understand that you don't have to coach everyone the exact same way? It might seem like it's going to be a lot of work and it's a lot easier to just plug every single person into the system. But I found with friends and family, like I have a much more invested interest in them because I love them, right? And they're like part of my life. So I'm more than willing to do things with them differently. And actually, I think it makes it feel more fun. And like Christy just said, it's easier. And I think it's a lot less formal. So there's a lot less pressure there, right? They can say no and it's not a big deal. I've just found that works better for me. So with your family members, it's kind of the same thing. It's a one-on-one invite. It's less formal and it's more creative accountability, right? And I usually ask, like my brothers, they don't need like a challenge group. They don't need a bod group. They want to text me once a week and be like, I gained 10 pounds of muscle. Like they just, you know what I mean? Like that's what they care about. They need somebody to just check in with, right? Or someone to check in with them if they miss their check-in. So it's like a once a week kind of thing. I've actually found that friends and family, I actually have to spend less time actually coaching them because our relationship by nature brings more accountability. Like they don't want to fail in front of you either. You know what I mean? So let's see. My sample invite. Hi, Rachel. I'm looking to team up with someone local for accountability. I think that's really great. And then you can just say, here's what I'm trying to do. Like, this is the plan. Like, here's the program. Here's whatever. Here's why I need accountability. Are you looking for something like this? I'm trying to find somebody that will do this with me on the side. Super easy, right? Okay. I think with close friends too, I think it's important, you guys, to remember as well, like your audience. You have to don't be tone deaf. Like make sure that you can read the room. If people are not interested, then they're not interested and that's okay. But if there's people who you really have that gut feeling, like this would be so good for you, or I know like you've mentioned that you need something more, or you're depressed or don't have any energy or whatever. If you have an in that way based on their personality, conversations you've had, again, even if you just love them so much that you want them to be part of it, just say it. Just say what it is. I found when you tell people what their value is to you, it's a lot easier. Like my sister-in-law, Andrea, hey, will you do this cycling program with me? I've never cycled before. She's so funny and so fun when it comes to exercise. She never takes things too seriously. I know what she will and won't do with her diet, right? And so it's just fun. So I think, again, the key with family and friends, keep it relative to your relative, right? Keep it relative to who that person is. Invite them in a way that's natural to your relationship with them, right? Like don't try to go out of that relationship with them or it'll be weird. Like don't try to put your coach hat on with your mom, like just be her daughter or her son and be like, Mom, I care about you. Like, take care of yourself. Like, can I help you? What can we do? Like, it's just little things like that that go a really long way. Okay. So I want you to think kind of along that same line, your friend and your family. And I want you to try and reach out and make an invitation. There's got to be somebody that you're like, I've always wanted to invite them and I just don't know how. This is your chance. Okay. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, get your invite done, hit done, and we'll move on to the next one. I also just want to mention, it's okay if you don't want to bring any of your friends and family into your circle. It's okay. Like, I think there's some coaches who will push that to death, but again, it's really understanding, like I just said, what's appropriate and what isn't for your own business. For me, I didn't invite any friends and family for like 5 years, long time. It was 100% cold market growing my business. And I went 5-star elite, I hit Million Club, I hit Success Club 52 months in a row, all on my cold market. Not one friend, not one family member, right? Like I didn't sign up my husband for 18 months as a coach because I thought my coach was just doing that so that he could like elevate. I didn't get it. It's not the case. Sign up your spouse if you haven't done that immediately. But it's just, I just wanted to say that because it's so important that you trust your own gut. Like you have to trust yourself as the owner of your own business, 100%. The more confidence and ownership you have in that, the farther you'll be able to go, right? So take what people tell you, what people teach you, what people are doing with a grain of salt. Use what you like and try and apply it to your own business, but don't try to copycat or mimic things just because you think that's the only way to be successful. It's not. Okay. Okay. I also have never placed an ad, just so you guys know. I am like 100% authentic, one-on-one conversations, network, connecting, inviting. That's how I've built my entire business. So, could I probably go farther in my business with that strategy? Probably. I could probably reach a lot more people, but my strategy for reaching more people is inviting more people who will then invite people, right? It's creating a branch bigger through the people that I'm helping. So that's been my strategy. And I used Instagram almost entirely when I first started because it came out the year that I started coaching. That's so terrible, but it's true. Okay. So let's go to neighbors. So what I like about neighbor invites is they can also be very casual. I think they work best face-to-face. And I think this is a really good start free option. So like what we just talked about. So with neighbors, I found that if you're like, I'm going to start a walking group this spring, because it's almost spring, and I want to get some people from the neighborhood who want to walk every morning, and you just collect people as you go. So like if you go to the bus stop, if you see your neighbor at the mailbox, or you could put flyers on the mailbox and be like, we're going to start walking on Tuesdays at 7 a.m. every single week, meet here, right? It's just really trying to branch out a little bit. This is terrifying to me because I'm very introverted. So like even seeing my neighbors, sometimes I'm like, oh, like my natural instinct is to run away instead of like lean in and talk to people. But if you really think about it and you break the ice quickly, right? And establish like kind of a neighborly, healthy community, then people will start to come to you for that stuff. Because I'm telling you, one walk around the neighborhood, getting to know somebody, they'll get to know what you do pretty quick. And most people on some level are interested in health and fitness. So it's really about having those casual interactions with people. So if you have neighbors that you would like to get involved in this, if you have a clubhouse, if you live in a community, like start a fit club. It's awesome. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Like bring your laptop, put on a Beachbody workout and be like, once a week, we're going to do a workout, come do it for free. And before you know it, you can start talking to people and being like, you should do this on the days off. How do I do that? Here's the subscription. Here's how you buy it. Here's how you log in. Here's how you do everything. You can literally teach them and integrate them before they even buy it. So again, is it more work or is it just work that you're already doing? You're just now inviting people to it, right? In a physical way instead of a digital way. Does that make sense? Who's afraid or who has successfully invited any of their neighbors? raise your hand or post in the chat. Some people are really, really good at this, and I admire those people. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple minutes, and I want you to maybe just either write a couple names down. I want you to write down the names of neighbors that you see the most often. Those are going to be the people that you talk to first or contact first. And then I want you to write an idea of like, how could I get my direct neighbors involved? If they're older, I especially love that. I love going on walks with old people. They love it. They love getting outside. You can break the ice in so many ways, especially people who walk their dogs. Like that's a huge thing, especially if you have dogs yourself. Like I'm going to start a dog walking community. Like let's get our dogs together and go on a walk. There's so many things that you can do to break the ice there, right? So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to just write a few ideas because obviously your neighbor's not in front of you right now. And your challenge this week is to make that neighbor invite. And if you do, I want you to message me on Instagram and say, Jace, I contacted and connected with one of my neighbors. Here's how it went. I would love to hear that. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to work on that. Okay, so really quick, the local person you reached out to said they want to try. So it depends on what you asked them to try. Did you ask them to go on walks with you? Did you ask them to try a beach body workout? Like, what did you invite them to do? I wouldn't sign them a link or anything to sign up with. I would like start slow and be like, oh, I would send them like a link of an actual free workout. So like a Vimeo of like one of our workouts, our free sample workouts, and be like, here, just try this one, like give them value immediately for free. And then just be like, did you like it? Was it fun? Do you want me to come over and do it with you? Like, let's figure it out, right? Yeah, do a Zoom, whatever you're most comfortable with. You can even say, I've found like people, at least for me, like to do things kind of on their own. And then they'll like kind of get into the group aspect of it, but they kind of want to, like a lot of people, if you think about it, are self-conscious when they first start this stuff. Like raise your hand if you would have been self-conscious to like immediately start working out with someone. I've been doing this for 12 years and I still hate working out with people. Like I hate it, except at Summit, because I like am in that mindset already. So you just have to kind of feel out the person. If they really like the social aspect of it and they're very social people, that's why they'll start doing it. And that's why they'll come back, because you are doing it with them. If they're more introverted, then I would give them the link to the workout and let them do it on their own and then follow up with them a lot, show interest in how it went for them. Okay. Let's see. Oh, these are so good. I'm so glad you guys are like writing down what you're doing that's working, because I think that's so helpful. Okay, so inactive challengers and inactive coaches, it's kind of the same approach that I use as well, the same formula. It's again a personal or direct invite. It's to reconnect. If it's a challenger, I want to reconnect with them first. It's not to get them to repurchase or resubscribe or anything else. It's just a reconnection. And then to create a game plan with them and a start date for them. That's my aim, my goal, always with inviting an inactive challenger. With an inactive coach, I always start them back with fitness first, not the business. So whenever I'm trying to reactivate somebody, I always start at the very beginning, right? Because most inactive coaches are inactive because they stopped working out. They stopped doing other stuff. So I always start with the fitness. I focus on that. And I do an invitation to my challenge group. I re-invite them back into my fitness community, not my coaching community, the fitness side of it. And again, I give a game plan, a restart date, and we focus on their fitness first. Okay, so I want you to take a couple minutes. I want you to think of any inactive challengers that you have at the moment or inactive coaches. And what I want you to do is reach out to them with the goal of, I want to reconnect with this person. I want to see where they've been. Hey, have you been working out? Still, catch me up. We haven't chatted in a long time. Just ask a super simple question that's focused on their health and fitness and where they're at with that. And that will lead into you being able to help them create a game plan. Because most of the time they write back, when you give them sort of that out, like it's okay if you haven't been working out. And I'm not concerned if your business is going or not right now, because I already know that it's not, right? What I'm concerned about is, are you still here? Are you okay? Are you still getting your workouts in? Are you taking care of yourself? Number one. Okay, so that's what you're going to try and reconnect with. So to send a direct message like that, I'll usually reach out very simply. Hey, we haven't chatted in a while. I just wanted to see how you're doing. Are you still getting your workouts in? Catch me up. Super simple. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple minutes to go through and send a couple of those. When you've sent them, hit done in the chat. These two are the easiest invites for me to send is to like inactive coaches and challengers, because they always have them. There's never a time where I'm like, everyone's active, like 100%. No, never. So there is always someone to invite back into your groups. And if you guys think about this, this is just like a smart business tip, which some of you might know, but it's always less expensive to keep a current customer than it is to onboard a new one. It's the general rule in business. So it's really important for you guys to cultivate the invites and relationships that you've already built, because it's so hard getting a customer, right? Like it's so hard to get them. So when you get them, you definitely want to keep them. So I think, again, just the culture that you build within your team and the languages that you use with your challengers and your coaches, the more it just aligns with kind of your personality and who you are and why you personally are coaching, I think the more natural it is and the easier it is for you to keep people engaged. I will say, having a more tenured business, like with people that have been with me since the first year I was a coach, I've now literally coached some of the same people for 12 years, which is crazy, that have never fallen off. Some have never become coaches. I've had challengers that have been in every one of my groups for that long. And it just goes to show like that retention is so important, but it's so based on your ability to reconnect often and not forget about people. And the easiest way to not forget about people, right, is to invite every day, because there's always somebody already in your business that needs that invitation again and again and again. You know, it's never too many times. It's never overbearing. It's never too much. Like, especially if your invites are coming from a place of good intention, right? Okay. So did anyone not have an inactive challenger or coach to invite? Maybe I should pay someone if they have that. You get $100 if you didn't have anyone that's inactive or an inactive coach. Okay. So now we're just going to go through a couple different social media invitations. I'm going to help you try and understand these different platforms a little bit, so maybe you can be a little more effective with your invitations this way. So with Facebook is a lot different than Instagram. It's a lot more social. People love to talk on Facebook. Text works. Photos work less, which is interesting on that platform. So it's okay to be a little more robust. It's okay to ask personal questions. It's okay to ask for engagement and feedback. People like talking on Facebook, and I love that. So with your Facebook posts, if you're creating an invitation post, like you have a new challenge coming up, you've got your start date, you've got your leverage, you've got your theme, and it's all ready to go. One of the most effective ways I've found of naturally inviting people every single month is to do a personal update. Hey, everybody, here's what's going on with me. Here's what I've been working on. Here's where my mindset is at. Here's where my body's at. Here's what's going on with me. Here's my plan. Here's what I'm going to be doing, right? Here's all my solutions. Ask for feedback on it. Is anyone else feeling like this? How are you doing? If you're having success in this area that I'm not, what are you doing? Like, ask people for feedback. I think that that's really important. And then give the details and structure of your plan, which is basically your challenge group. I'm going to do this gut protocol. It's a 4-week thing. Has anybody ever done a program like this? Has anybody ever done a detox like this? If you ask people these questions, not only are you going to find people who are into this kind of program, who have done stuff like this before, but can also give you feedback whether it worked for them or not. And if it didn't work for them, you've now got an invitation, an open invitation to be like, do you think this would work for you? Is this something you're interested in trying, right? It's all about, Facebook is all about the back and forth. It really is. And if you can just look at Facebook like a conversation, it's so much easier, right? So ask questions every single day. if I have any advice with Facebook, ask a question every single day on your feed. And it will get people used to talking to you. It doesn't have to be directly related to your challenge group or Beachbody or your business. In fact, I think the more variety you have in your questions, not only do you attract different people, but you have a lot of different conversations and a lot more opportunity for connection, which leads to invite opportunity, right? So even just asking simple social questions, I think is important. But if you're actually asking if you're going to post a direct invite to your challenge group, to whatever you have going on that month, do an update, a personal update, ask for feedback, like where other people are at, and then tell them your plan and say, if this sounds like something you would need, post below, let me know, hit the like. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, and I actually want you to craft an invite post. So go on there, take 3 minutes, give an actual update on where you're at, good, bad, or ugly. It just has to be the truth. Okay, if you lie, this doesn't work. I'm telling you right now, if this is a lie, they will pick up on it. People can read that immediately. So make sure you give a truthful update, give your plan of attack, ask for feedback, and then invite people who might need the same thing that you're working on. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Go. Okay. Was that helpful with the Facebook stuff? The most helpful thing about this power hour, you guys, isn't even necessarily the application of it tonight. So I don't want you to stress if you're like, oh my gosh, we're going so fast. What I really want you to pay attention to is the formula for each kind of invite. So if you're like, I want to invite my friend, you can literally go to this and be like, okay, let's keep it one-on-one. Let's keep it a little less formal. Let's be creative with the accountability piece. And it just helps you craft the invite so much easier. Does that make sense? If you're like, oh, I have to post on Facebook, I'm going to make sure there's a personal point to that. I'm going to make sure that I ask for feedback and I'm social, that I'm trying to create a conversation. I'm going to make sure that I give the details and structure for whatever I'm trying to invite to, right? So Instagram is really simple. Instagram, what works the best there is identifying the problem, giving the solution, and then having a call to action, right? With a visual. So some kind of photo saying, here's the problem that I've been having or that I'm seeing. Here's the solution I've found or we've found or that we're going to focus on. And then the call to action. Are you having the same problem? Would the solution work for you? Or we're going to run a group on this. Is this something that you're interested in? Whatever it is, like that's the proven over and over and over formula for inviting on social media, on Instagram. Problem, solution, call to action. Really simple. It's not easy to always come up with that like language and content and stories, but that is the formula. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple minutes to maybe think and craft through that. And then I'm going to talk through these last three and then I'll let you go. So I'm going to give you a minute. I want you to try and create an invitation on Instagram and post it. This is the perfect time of night to post. Okay, I'm going to give us a good 5 minutes. Okay, I just have to respond to Tanya really quick. That's so exciting. And again, just proof that there's never a time where the invite isn't impactful. Honestly, you guys, people just want to be acknowledged. And if you're able to acknowledge people again and again and again, like it's so powerful. Someone asked, when you post to Instagram with a problem, do you suggest posting a picture of yourself or of the problem? Here's my advice with photos in general. People like to see pictures with people in them. Period. Period. So if that's ever a question, always post a picture with yourself in it or a person in it, because that's what's interesting to people, right? Even like you guys have seen it. There's some accounts that have pictures, literally the same picture of someone in the same position with the same smile, just different outfit, different day, right? But it's like literally the same exact photo, and they still have a following. They still have people connecting with them because they're just showing themselves. And maybe people get bored of seeing the same photo over and over and over again, but there's subliminal consistency with that. There's structure, there's foundation there that people latch onto, whether it's intentional or not. Like, that's why people end up following other people for so long and building relationships with people who are consistent. And that's why it's so important, because they're really attaching themselves to stability. Consistency is stability. Does that make sense? So if you're like that person that's like, oh my gosh, I'm so inconsistent. If you say, oh my gosh, I'm so unstable. See how that language change is so powerful. And if you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, like I feel so unstable, what immediately happens just by our nature is to stabilize, because it's survival, right? Like that's what humans do. And so if you restructure that in your mind and stop saying like, I'm so inconsistent, and start saying, I need to stabilize. I need to get stable in this business. That's when you're going to start to find consistency, because you'll start to create routines. Does that make sense? And that's what people are going to latch onto. They don't care about what you look like. They don't care about how successful your business is or how much money you make. Do you know why? Because they care about what they look like and how much money they make and what their quality of life is more. What they care about from you is your ability to be there and show up and be consistent and stable in their life, right? I will say that's probably the number one thing in 12 years that I'm in coaching that I've been able to recognize early on, is the importance of stability for people on this journey specifically. Because if you think about it, this is a very unstable genre. Like health and fitness is like a freaking roller coaster, right? So if they can find somebody who's stabilized in this environment, think about how powerful that is. No matter what, they can always come back and they know you're there. No matter what, it's like that friend that you have in your life that no matter how long time has gone in between seeing them, when you go back to them, it's like no time has passed at all. That's what consistency can do in this space for people. It can bring them back to a healthy mindset again and again and again, right? Okay. So these last three, when you're inviting to your challenge groups, I invite my past challengers to everything. Like once you're my customer, you're privy to anything I ever do from then on, no matter what. You're automatically invited. So I always post invites to my challenge groups. I invite my coaches as much as I can to everything that I have going on. That's just part of you investing in me, in our team, in yourself, right? Like once you're in is sort of how I run my business. So for my challenge group invites, I usually take a poll. I'll lay out the challenge of what we're going to focus on for the next month. And then I'll take a poll and I'll get feedback from my challengers, my long-standing people and almost always I base my challenges off what I'm seeing in my group already, what they're struggling with, what's going on in the world, which is a lot. Like where people really need that stability. Is it in nutrition this month? Is it in mindset this month? Is it in supplements this month? Is it in fitness? Like, where are we unstable? And that's what I try to base the challenge around. So it keeps it very simple, but it always keeps me progressing forward as well, because my challenges generally wrap around what's going on in my own journey. And my challengers kind of mimic that, because we all kind of like move together, you know? So the formula for my challenge group posts are always, or invites are always, take a poll, ask for feedback, tag specific people in it, and call them to action. So if I have inactive challengers, if I have people who I know specifically that have been talking about whatever the challenge is about as their problem, I'll tag them specifically in the invite post and I'll call them to action. And that's kind of how I do that. And I do that once or twice a month, every time I'm about to start a new challenge. So I give them a week or so to gear up for the next thing. For live invites, have you guys ever done a live invite? Raise your hand. None of you? Okay, this is your challenge for this week. I'm just going to switch over to the other page. No one's raising their hand. So a live invitation is a lot like a Facebook invitation. It's really just giving a personal update, sharing a specific personal solution or focus to a problem that you're having. And then you just verbally do the same thing you would do on Facebook. You just invite to it. Is anyone else having this problem? What have you done? What solutions have you found? And is what I'm doing sounding like something that you could do, or you would do, or you need? It's a live invite. It's like going on Instagram or Facebook and saying your post instead of posting it. Does that make sense? Does that freak anyone out, or is that like sounding a little more doable? I think actually that this is really more where the world is going right now. I think if you can get really good at doing this specific formula in a reel, think about that, right? Because reels are like everything right now. If you could create a reel where in 60 seconds, you can identify a personal solution, or a personal problem, give an update, give your solution, and then say, hey, how are you feeling about this? Give me your feedback. Done. So easy, so simple, right? If you do that once a week, game changer. So that can be also another challenge for you this week, is to really try and do a live invite. I think the more tenured you get with coaching, the more you crave that live interface and you fear it a lot less. So if you're newer to coaching, it's okay to like be in your comfort zone a little bit and go where you're the most comfortable, because that's where you're going to have the most success. As you grow as a coach and as your business starts to grow, and as you talk to more and more people and discover it's not scary to talk to people, it's actually really amazing to get involved in this kind of stuff, then you get a little bit more bold, and those live invites become extremely powerful to you as the coach. That's where you can really express yourself and authentically invite. There's no more authentic invite than a live one. None. That's like king. So if you're all about the authenticity, that's your jam. Okay. And then the referral, I'll just tell you really quick and then I'll let you go because I know we're over. So for referrals, I think this is a really important practice. I'm not super perfect at it, but I do think when you're thinking about a referral and trying to find people to invite through that process, I think a few questions you can ask that I've found are really impactful are, like in my challenge group, hey, does anyone know anyone that needs this? Does anybody know anybody that could use our group this month? And I've had a lot of my challengers be like, hey, I have this girl, she's amazing. She can't buy anything right now. She's in whatever situation, but I think she would benefit tremendously from the mindset work, just like what's going on in this group. Can I invite her? And what do you think I say? 100%. Let's get her in there, right? What do I have to lose? Nothing. I'm doing it anyway. And maybe this will be the thing that changes her path. It's her pivot. To me, that's why I'm here, right? To help people pivot in that healthier direction. So who do you know that needs this? You can ask for referrals from your challengers, your followers, your friends and family. You can ask your friends and followers on social media to be like, tag somebody who needs a daily coach, tag somebody who needs stability in this arena, tag somebody. I'm telling you guys, the more you enforce, and this is for your own personal success, the more you enforce your own environment, the more consistent you're forced to be. So when I started coaching, I was very unstable, but I wanted to be very stable. So I knew if it was just me, I would quit again and again and again. I was a chronic starter and not finisher. Chronic. I knew it, right? But I also knew that if I had other people relying on me, that if they were also involved, looking to me for direction, for leadership, for stability, right? I couldn't and wouldn't fail them. And that was a very powerful driving force. So the more you guys enforce that environment of the inability to fail, whether you want to quit or not, like it will fuel you forward again and again and again. And that happens by inviting more people in. The more people you collect, right? The more people you bring into this, the less and less ability you have to give up. Because you have so many people relying on you, right? So it's just, I think sometimes we look at our businesses and we're like, oh my gosh, invite. This is going to help me with rank and compensation and all this stuff. But you're like, really, you guys, if you think about this, like you're enforcing a tremendous support system for this aspect of your life, your own personal health and fitness. And you've got this giant community that's not allowing you to fail in this area anymore. Think about how powerful that is. Why do you think I'm still here after 12 years? Because I'm telling you, the compensation plan's exciting for like 5 minutes. And then you're like, okay, I got this. Like it's fine, right? But the business hasn't changed since the day I became a coach. It's still about Success Club. It's still about advancing in rank. It's still about creating volume. It's still about creating transformation and building results and helping people and selling Beachbody products. It's still all of those things. None of that has changed at all, right? So the way that you get consistent in a mundane sort of scenario like that is understanding that the environment that you're putting yourself in is what's propelling your life forward in the direction that you want. So don't just look at this like, I'm filling up my challenge group, I'm filling up my sponsorship, like I'm filling up my Success Club points, but like I'm creating a fortress around myself to not fail at this, right? To keep going. So hopefully this gave you guys some ideas on how to innovate in your invites. Again, it's the formulas that are so helpful. So as you go through your invites this week, as you sit down in your power hours, if you just print this sheet off and you have it, or you take a picture of it or whatever, so that you have it on your phone, when you draw blanks and when you're like, I have no idea how to invite, like you can refer back to this, create a little custom invitation based on that little formula and just keep going. You can focus on one of these a day. You can focus on one of these a week. It doesn't matter. Like just kind of take a little bit more ownership that this is like your thing. It's yours to control. It's yours to grow. That's awesome. Like to grow something from nothing, right? And just be able to look back and be like, I did this in a way that was authentic to me, that had integrity, that I'm really proud of, that was innovative. I think that that's the one thing that I prided myself the most in as a new coach was innovating and doing things different. That's like the story of my life. Oh, they're going to do it that way. I'm going to do it this way. It's just how my brain operates. So if you're the same way, run with it. Like that's how you create new pathways for people who never thought that they would be able to do something like this, but they saw you do it differently that spoke to them. And that's why they were able to say yes and go for it, you know? Okay. I posted that one more time. Does anyone have any last questions? Are we feeling less stressed about inviting? That's what I want. Less stress, more fun. That's what we need. Okay. I will see you guys in a couple weeks. Maybe I'll try and do a challenge group power hour. I've never done one of those before, and that sounds interesting. So we can maybe discuss all things challenge groups. I think they're changing so much with the different platforms anyway, that it could be really cool to kind of brainstorm that. So I'll see you guys in a couple Thursdays. Have a good week. Let me know if you do a live invite or invite your neighbor at Coach Jace on Instagram. You can message me, and I'll see you guys in a couple weeks.